Stocks eke out minor gains on Wall Street in a shortened session ahead of the 4th of July holiday. Asian markets largely lower as investors look ahead to the Australian central bank rate decision, while the GIFT Nifty is indicating a higher start for the Indian market. Brent crude prices steady below $75 a barrel as investors weigh extended output cuts by Russia and Saudi Arabia against concerns over a slowing global economy and interest rate hikes. Reliance Jio unveils India's cheapest internet-enabled phone, Jio Bharat, at under 1,000 rupees. The platform is aimed at breaking 250 million people out of the 2G era. Beta trial for the first 1 million devices to begin from the 7th of July. Moto and Harley launched the new X440, jointly designed and developed by both companies. The bike comes in 3 variants starting at an ex-showroom price of 2.29 lakh rupees, and due to it being manufactured in India, the bike will also not face any tariffs in the country. A CNBC TV18 news break is confirmed. IDFC First Bank's board approves the merger of IDFC Financial Holdings and IDFC with itself. Shareholders of IDFC to receive 155 IDFC First Bank shares for every 100 they hold. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast here on CNBC TV18. Well, a lot has happened in the global market, so let's take a look at what's happening specifically in the Asian markets. First up, largely mixed, so to say. We do have the Taiwanese index, which is absolutely flat with some negative bias. Hang Seng is higher, but of course, it's not seeing the gains that it saw yesterday. So there is some sort of consolidation at these levels as well. Across the board, that is the state with Nikkei, Straits Times, and Kospi as well. Do remember it was a shortened session in US markets and we did see some profit taking there. So watching out for this one and looking like a mixed session for the Asian markets as we speak. Let's talk about the US markets because Wall Street began the second half of the year on a positive note with key indices ending a shortened session with minor gains. The Dow Jones closed 10 points higher, the S&P 500 gained 5 points and the Nasdaq Composite finished about 28 points higher. The US market closed early ahead of the Independence Day holiday today. Let's also listen into some important market opinion coming in from Moody's Analytics' Mark Zandi and Fidelity Investments' Jurian Timmer.
So I think we've got a, I don't want to be Pollyannish. Recession risks are high historically when you have when you're in a world of high inflation and a Federal Reserve that's raising interest rates aggressively, you tend to land in recession. So recession risks are high, but I think we have a fighting chance to get through without an economic downturn. There's, these are the 4 dreaded words. This time is different, but it feels like this time is different for a bunch of reasons. So I think we'll be able to make our way through without an actual downturn. I'm increasingly confident in the thought that at current interest rates, the economy is going to slow sufficiently and inflation is going to come in adequately to forestall further rate increases and allow the economy to come in without experiencing a recession.
We know that the Fed is not done yet. And the market has been battling the Fed throughout this cycle, saying, you're done and you're going to pivot. And the Fed says, well, not so fast. And so we have obviously the next FOMC meeting coming up in a few weeks as well. And expectations are that the Fed will raise rates. And the expected terminal rate now is at around 5.4. And the Fed is saying, higher for longer. So when you look at those 3 pillars, the liquidity pillar still isn't in place yet, although the market, I think, would like for it to be. The sentiment pillar clearly is supportive of more gains for the market because nobody was really prepared for this. And then that earnings gain, I think, is going to play the tiebreaker. And so far, it has been better than feared. Let's put it that way.
Okay, that's the global market action, but how will these overnight cues impact our own markets? We have our research team joining in to tell you just that. What's the trade setup looking like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and the action from the F&O space as well. Hey guys, a very good morning to all of you. Ekta, let me come across to you first up. What is the market setup looking like today?
Thanks for that. Well, yes, the markets did close at record highs for the 3rd straight session. So there's a lot of momentum which is behind our markets for the past couple of weeks as well as months. So the Nifty Bank also gained over 400 odd points. We had the mid-cap index also, which was up around 89 odd points. So it's basically the Midas touch. Anything you touch in the markets is probably going to be in the green. FII's net bought close to around 2,000 odd crores in equities. Yesterday, DII's net sold close to around 340 odd crores. Now, in terms of the US markets, you did say it was a truncated session, but they did eke out small gains. Asia is largely a little weaker. There is the Australia rate decision which is waiting for. So that is something that the street will be looking out for, or at least the Asian markets. Oil has largely rallied on account of the Saudi-Russian supply cuts which are due in the month of August. So that is something that the street would watch out for, but no great movements. Brent is currently at around $74 per barrel. We have the US markets which is closed for today, so no real cues which is going to come out from the US. One of the big cues which we will be watching out for later on in the week will be the FOMC minutes. So that is something that the street would wait for in order to assess what the Fed would be thinking in terms of its further trajectory. Overall structure remains positive. The Nifty is attaining highs at a steady pace, so no complaints as of now. We can probably expect that sort of momentum to continue.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ekta, for joining us with all those market cues. Now over to Surbhi. She'll list out all the stocks which will be in focus today. Surbhi.
Good morning, Sonal. So first on my radar is Reliance. The Reliance Jio has launched its new 4G phone called Jio Bharat, and it is priced at $999. Next is IDFC First Bank. The board has approved the merger of IDFC and IDFC First Bank. Shareholders will receive 155 shares of IDFC First Bank for every 100 shares of IDFC. Some Q1 business updates coming in. The first one is from Avenue Supermarts. They saw 18% growth in their revenue. It came in at 11,584 crores. Vedanta, the total aluminum production was up 2% and the overall power sales were up 19% for the quarter. Bajaj Finance, they saw new loans booked were up 34% and an AUM growth of 32% for Q1. And lastly, Torrent Power is also on my radar as the company starts work on a green hydrogen pilot project to blend with natural gas for the CGD network.
Okay, all right. Those are a couple of stocks which are on our radar today. Surbhi, thank you so much for that list. Finally, let's talk about the F&O space. Mangalam is joining us. Hey, Mangalam.
Good morning. So, yesterday was a record-breaking session yet again with the Nifty conquering that 19,300 mark for close. And that was led by smooth power transition from the big heavyweights. The first half of trade, it was the HDFC twins which reigned supreme. And thereafter, Reliance took over. And Reliance was the one which ended at the high point of trade, ended up being the top contributor to the Nifty yesterday, along with ITC. So we had HDFC twins, ITC and Reliance accounting for all the gains on the indices. In terms of cash market volumes, the FI has bought about 2,000 odd crores, the DII has sold about 338 crores, and this will be a factor that we'll be watching out for today because the US markets are closed, so the FI volumes would be on the lower side as well. But there are some cues coming in from the F&O space which suggest that there could be some consolidation. They bought about 434 crores in the cash markets, or other index futures. They added about just 3,000 longs and covered about 1,900 shorts. But the cues for consolidation come from one, that FIIs are now 70% long in index futures, apart from them having sold more options as well. Yesterday we saw some calls selling, so 1.37 lakh calls were written. That's telling you that on the way up we may face some congestion. Secondly, India VIX, which was at a bit of a lull, has seen a bit of a spike, and it's still below 12. Above 12 is where we start to see some volatility in the market. And the Nifty put call ratio is closer to 1.5, which is again an overstretched zone, so we'll watch out for that. Those who've written the 19,300 call and put are playing for a range of 19,150 to around 19,450. So that's the broad range we're looking at. But on the way up, 19,350 to 19,360 could be a bit of a congestion as well. It's also Fin Nifty expiry today. It is Tuesday. Fin Nifty suggests a bit of a support at around that 20,200 mark, close to where we're at right now. The highest calls are at 20,400. And to that extent, the way Bajaj twins performed today, that's Bajaj Finance and Bajaj Finserv, in light of strong data coming in from Bajaj Finance in their first quarter, is something we'll be watching out for. And in F&O stocks, most definitely keep an eye out on IDFC First Bank, likely to see a big fall today on account of the swap ratio that values it at 14% discount to IDFC.
Oh yes, those are two. That is one stock that we'll be closely watching out for. Thank you guys for joining us and prepping us up for this trading day ahead. Time for a short break now. When we return, Jio unveils Jio Bharat platform, prices the new phone at 999 rupees. More on that when we return. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Well, let's talk about some stocks which are expected to be in news today in detail. IDFC First Bank's board has approved the merger of IDFC Financial Holdings into itself. Abhishek is here with more details.
IDFC First Bank will offer about 155 shares of IDFC Bank for every 100 shares that is there in IDFC Limited. So this indicates that the deal price for IDFC Limited could be at a premium of around 16% to yesterday's closing price. The merger will lead to simplification of the corporate structure that is there in IDFC Group, that is with respect to IDFC FSCL, IDFC Limited, as well as IDFC First Bank. So that will consolidate them into a single entity and help streamline the regulatory compliance over there. So the scheme is subject to approval by various regulatory entities like shareholders and creditors, stock exchanges, CCI, NCLT, RBI and SEBI, and it will take anywhere around 9 months to 12 months for this scheme to get implemented. Back to you.
Okay, those stocks will be in focus. In fact, we'll be joined by the management of IDFC First Bank at 9:30 a.m. today. So do stay tuned in for that conversation. Moving on to the other name, Reliance, that is, Reliance Jio has unveiled India's cheapest internet-enabled phone, which is set to cost just 999 rupees. The move is aimed at making internet accessible to more Indians. Will it work? Rima is here to tell us more.
Thanks so much for that. So as you pointed out, yesterday Reliance Jio has launched a new 4G and internet phone called Jio Bharat phone, which will be priced at $999. This will also have access to the inbuilt Jio apps like Jio Cinema, Jio Savan, FM radio, and you can also make UPI payments with this app via JioPay. Now, what is Jio Bharat trying to do? They're tapping into the nearly 250 million subscribers who currently have feature phones, which does not have access to internet. So they're pricing this 4G internet phone at a similar price to the existing feature phones. But with this phone, you get access to the apps. Plus, it's a 4G. It's an internet phone. So in a way, it sits right between a 2G and a 4G smartphone. The company has also launched fairly attractive plans. So the monthly plan for 28 days is priced at 123 rupees. Now, this is cheaper than what competition has to offer. Now, Bharti has an entry-level plan of 155 rupees. But here you're getting only 1 GB of data. As compared to that, in Jio Bharat's phone, for 123 rupees, you are getting 14 GB of data, plus it's cheaper. There is another plan. Both Bharti and Bharti and Vodafone Idea have a 179 plan, where again you get unlimited voice, but you're getting only 2 GB of data. Again, as I said, with Jio, it's 123 rupees, but you get far more data, 7x the data. MK believes that Jio Bharat can transition over 100 million subscribers if there are no supply chain or product performance hiccups. Currently, Vodafone Idea has about 100 million 2G subscribers. Airtel has 111 million subscribers as of Q4. If Reliance Jio can tap into 40% of Vodafone Idea and Airtel's 2G subscriber base and get them to transition to the Jio phone and then the entire Jio platform and network, it can hurt their EBITDA margin. So for Vodafone Idea, EBITDA can come down by 11%. For Airtel, on a consolidated basis, Airtel EBITDA can come down by 6%. And also a bigger risk is this shows that, Jio wants to, still attract a lot of subscribers. That's their focus. The focus doesn't appear to be on improving tariffs or increasing tariffs at this rate. So the whole tariff increase discussion could take a backseat, which will further hurt the incumbent players, Vodafone Idea and Bharti Airtel. Back to you.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that, Rima. So that is about Reliance Jio. Now, some exciting news for bike enthusiasts. Hero MotoCorp has announced the launch of X440 in partnership with Harley-Davidson. This is the first bike to be developed under the Hero Harley-Davidson partnership. My colleague Parikshit, who was at the event launch, takes you through the key features of the bike.
The X440 will be the most important and biggest premium offering in Hero MotoCorp's lineup for years to come. This has been co-designed, co-developed with Harley-Davidson, manufactured by Hero MotoCorp here in India. The engine has been developed by Hero MotoCorp with inputs from Harley-Davidson, and this is a characteristic Harley-Davidson motorcycle. The sound, the riding ergonomics, the styling and the design are all of that of a Harley-Davidson. So what do you really get with this motorcycle? A 440cc engine, which gives you 38 Newton meters of torque, signature tail lamps, signature turn indicators, the headlamp, all of that is, it will give you the resemblance, the similarities of a Harley Davidson. Why is it important for Hero MotoCorp? Well, Hero MotoCorp hopes to get an edge in the premium segment with the 440cc motorcycle, and Harley Davidson hopes to get the scale in the India market. This motorcycle will be sold by Hero MotoCorp not just in Harley's 25 showrooms in the country, but in 300 selected Hero MotoCorp outlets across India. So this will be sold along other Hero MotoCorp premium motorcycles as well. So this will be important to see how this bet really pays off for Harley Davidson and Hero MotoCorp. It has been priced competitively at 2.29 lakhs as a starting price. So you will see it competing with the Triumph 400, which is coming up very soon, the KTM 390, the Royal Enfield Classic 350, the Himalayan as well. So let's see how this motorcycle does well for both Harley Davidson and Hero MotoCorp in India.
Okay, bookings open today. So this is all for everyone who's excited about bikes. Thank you, Parikshit, for bringing us that report. Time for a short break now. When we return, oil prices rise on Monday to about $75 a barrel as Russia and Saudi Arabia extend supply cuts into August. More on that on the other side. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. Let's talk about some cues from the commodity markets now. Crude prices rose on Monday after two top exporters, Saudi Arabia and Russia, extended supply cuts for the month of August. Saudi Arabia said it would extend its voluntary cut of 1 million barrels per day in August as well. Let's listen into what RBC Capital Markets' Helima Croft had to make of the move by Saudi Arabia and oil prices going forward as well.
The Saudis announced today they are extending their 1 million barrel a day unilateral cut from July to August. Most of us think this will materially tighten balances. So we see WTI averaging around, 76, 75 for the remainder of the year. Brent price is about $4 higher. I mean, there are some important wild cards to watch. I mean, again, there's a lot of investor apathy for the oil market right now. You potentially have more macro worries. But again, the Saudis are really signaling they're going to try to do whatever it takes to bring this market back into balance and more constructive for the back half of the year.
Okay, all right, that's all about crude oil prices. Now on to the political turmoil in Maharashtra. After Ajit Pawar and other MLAs joined hands with the BJP government in Maharashtra, both factions of the NCP are now claiming to be the real party. The Sharad Pawar-led faction has written to the Assembly Speaker asking him to disqualify Ajit Pawar and the MLAs, even as both Sharad Pawar and nephew Ajit claim to have support of over 40 MLAs. Meanwhile, Sharad Pawar said he was confident that people of Maharashtra will not succumb to undemocratic forces. He said that he will rebuild the NCP. He announced the expulsion of MPs Sunil Tatkare and Praful Patel for anti-party activities. Santhya is now joining in to tell us more. Santhya.
So, Sonal, this is actually a step-by-step recap of what happened last year with Shiv Sena, how that party, another prominent regional party, how that party was split. And this year, it's NCP's turn. Now, talking about what's going to happen next. See, as far as what happens with NCP, who does the real NCP actually belong to, that is going to take some time. And if history is any indication here, things look brighter for Ajit Pawar. But talking about what's expected next, so before this week's cabinet meeting, it's expected that the portfolio division will happen, because along with Ajit Pawar, 8 other MLAs of NCP, they sworn in as ministers on Sunday. Their portfolios are yet to be assigned, and both NCP and BJP have indicated that by today, all these ministers will be given portfolios. Now, that's going to be an important development, Sonal, because we're talking about, once again, Maharashtra has a 3-party government in last 4 years actually, after 2019. This is for the second time that the state is governed by a 3-party alliance. So everybody is actually aiming for a share from the same pie. So how exactly this division is going to happen? How exactly BJP is going to ensure that people from both Shinde's faction and Ajit Pawar's faction get what they want, because they also have to keep them happy. At the same time, they have to ensure that their own MLAs are satisfied, they are happy. So how exactly BJP is going to ensure that division? That's going to be important. So today's portfolio allocation is something which is going to make a lot of difference in Maharashtra's political scenario. Sonal.
And of course, we'll come back to you for all the updates on Sandhya. Thank you so much for bringing us all those details. So that's about the Maharashtra political arena that's happening, whatever is happening in the state right now. But we'll do one thing, take your leave on this edition of Power Breakfast. Stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.